welcome back to Ride Rescue. In this episode I'm going to lift up these saggy doors. Looks like I'm going to have to loosen up the hinge bolts at the bottom and raise it up. The hinge is at the top. I don't have much gap left here, so I can't really adjust much at the top. Hopefully I don't chip things up too much and do any damage to the paint, but I do have a lot of chips that I need to fix on the car, so I'm not too concerned. It's kind of hard to see back in there, but there are, I think, 2 bolts on the top and 1 bolt on the bottom. Maybe 2 bolts on the bottom, but I think there's just 1 on the bottom. So I will get my skinny little hands in there and loosen these up and attempt at making some adjustments. Well, let's cross our fingers that I didn't go too high. I just barely lifted the door and I could feel it slip, and so I hurried and tightened it down. But it didn't work. It's still too low. Probably going to have to use my jack to hold the door up. You can see I have plenty of adjustment. It's just a matter of holding that door open. Gap wise at the bottom, I'm looking okay. But I'll lift it all the way up. Let's see if I can hurry and tighten that down before it drops. Well, that stinks. I just lost my favorite wrench. Hopefully my trusty little magnet can get it out. That little magnet's been a saver of mine many times. Okay, so I'll lift the door and then set it on the jack. Well, let's see if it'll stay while I hurry and tighten it up. I got our fingers crossed. Looks good. The strike plate is hitting exactly where it needs to be, and the top of the door is exactly. That latch seemed to be sticking a little bit, so I'm going to have to grease it. My gaps look good. It's not hitting. It's just a paper thin gap right here, though. So this paper thin gap that I had was just bugging me. Just couldn't leave well enough alone. I did not want to move this upper hinge because I didn't want to mess with these gaps right here. So what I did is I loosened up the hinge on the door and I pushed the door inwards. It was sticking out just a hair. In fact, you can see the edges of it are chipped up from rock chips. Now it's just inside of the fender, and you can see on this end of the door it's still sticking out just a little bit, but it was sticking out quite a bit more. But by doing that, not only did I fix this paper thin gap and open it up a little bit so I don't have to worry about anything hitting there, it also improved on opening and closing. I'm very happy with this door. Now I just have to tackle that one and do the same thing. Fair amount of gap here on top. I'm sticking out a little bit on the bottom. I've got decent gap along this side. So I'll just have to do what I did on the other side. Loosen up the bottom, bring it up, bring it in. This one's going to be a little bit tougher with this door handle hanging off. I'm going to do, I'm going to use my jack to lift it up, and then I'll be able to just roll the jack back. Well, let's see if that worked. Well, it did come up about 1/8 of an inch, but I needed it to come up a quarter. I need to come up a little bit more if possible. Well, it did come up a little bit, not enough. I think that bottom hinge is as far as it's going to go. I have a fairly decent gap up here, so I'm going to have to move the top hinge in. Hey, got it. Very nice. Now all I've got to do is bring that bottom in, and I got it. It moved in quite a bit, so I'm going to have to be careful not to chip any edges. Even worse, the whole door dropped. Now I got to lift it up. That's not good. That made my job a whole lot harder. Okay. So after probably a half an hour of adjusting, I literally had to loosen up all the bolts, raise the door, and then just start adjusting from there. So let's see. This will be the real test. I added quite a few chips to the door under the fender. I got a lot of chips to touch up. So that looks good. I got a good gap here. I might be in a little too far, but nothing's hitting. This door alignment is perfect. Now this is a little bit off, but I might have to bring the whole door out. Bring out both the top and the bottom. Okay, this top hinge is out as far as it can go. I'd like to go a little bit more. I was only able to go maybe 1/16 of an inch. The bottom I came out about 1/8. Height is right. Well, I think I can adjust this fender in just a little bit. Along with adjusting the doors to fit better, I am going to have to raise this fender, so I might as well adjust the hood while I'm at it. Along the front of the hood, it is tight. I'm chipping the edges off. When it comes to adjusting these hinges, it's sometimes appears to be backwards. This hinge, a lot of times, if you raise it, it lowers the back end. This one in the back, if you loosen it up and raise it, then that does raise the whole corner. But sometimes you need to lower this one and raise this one in order to get it to drop down. I'm going to start with this front one because it does look like it has moved, so that when he set something here and closed the hood on it, it appears to have pushed this down. Let's delicately close the hood and see if that helped at all. Yeah, that really did. It helped a lot. It still has a little further to go, but what it also did is slid the hood way back. And now it's got a big gap here on the front, and this is hitting the cowl in the back. So it has probably sprung that hinge a little bit. So I'm going to have to adjust the hood as well as adjust the hinge height. Yes, in fact, I can even see where this had been positioned. It has actually been moved back too. So I think somebody probably played around with this hinge a little bit, trying to adjust it, and they just seem to have gotten it worse instead of better. I'm going to raise this a little bit more. I'll carefully try it again. Okay, these gaps look much better now. I'm going to leave this one for now, and I'm going to see if I can get this one to come down just a little bit. That's perfect. In order to lift this fender up just a little bit, I need to loosen up these two bolts. And there's a bolt on the A-pillar. That one I left loose when I did the door. I'll loosen this up quite a bit because I want to be able to get another shim under there. I've got one shim that I can put in. I've actually got 3 of these, 2 this thickness and 1 that's slightly thinner. But this is about the thickness I want to move it, so I'm hoping I can force this in there. I don't like it sticking out where I can see it. I want to bring that around and hide it. That's better. Let's see how it did. I want the fender to go in just a little bit that way. In order to move the fender over, right at the top of the fender at the A-pillar, there's a bolt and 2 wedges. I'm going to remove one of those wedges, and that should be enough to slide that fender over. Okay, we've got our fingers crossed. Hoping this worked. Wow, beautiful. Tight. No more big gap. Fender fits the door now. Oh, beautiful. So I'm going to call it good. I'm really happy with this height. And that's really all I was after in the beginning. Well, like I said, I've got a few chips now to touch up, but at least the door fits right. Now I can take the door all apart and fix that handle. And the bolt is there. Oh, I'm so glad. This is a pretty unique little bolt for that handle. Now all I do is need to find the rubber seal that goes in there. It was sitting here on the dash and I put it away yesterday. Once I have that seal back in, put in the bolt, tighten everything up, put this door back together. Now before I put this in there, I'm going to put some Loctite on it. Well, I'm going to take the other one out and put some Loctite on it as well. Beautiful. I was just about to put the door panel back on and I noticed the seal is completely disintegrating, and I remembered, oh yeah, I bought new seals and they go underneath that door panel. So no reason to put that back on. Oh, as soon as the door rubber comes in, I'll peel all that off and replace it too. Next, I'll work on these windows. Well, I got the doors adjusted right. I'll put on the new rubber for the A-pillar and the new rubber for the doors, and then I can adjust these windows together, and then I can adjust the top to the windows. Once I get the top on, I might have to go back and adjust the windows a little bit, but that'll get me a good working point, and I can actually set the top on the glass while I'm getting everything set up.